Welcome to Deal Nation. On the show today, we're joined by Mary and Ann Danielson, the co-founders of the Danielson Land Company. Mary, Ann, how are you?
Very good. Good morning, Michael.
Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I've listened to both of you on quite a few of the big podcasts. I know that you're running a very, very successful land investing business. But the thing that first caught my attention is that you're not in an office together. You're not in the same state. You're not even bi-coastal. You're bi-continental. Mary, you're in Denver, and you spend much of the year in the capital city of the Philippines. That's quite an interesting split. So definitely want to get into that. But to kick things off, I know you both have a bit of a family history, obviously being sisters in land. And so I'd love to hear how you kind of gravitated towards land as a business opportunity in the beginning.
Sure. Mary and I both grew up in Wisconsin, and our home is very near Madison, but our family had a lot of land up north in Wisconsin. And so we would have to go work it with our dad, and we'd have to walk the acreage. And he was always teaching us, about which timber is valuable. And we had silica sand underneath, pretty much on the whole length of the property. And so he would tell us, which mines are interested in it and who do we do business with and all of that. And he always would say, like, when I'm dead and gone, you girls need to know this. And we kind of like rolled our eyes and we weren't super interested.
Yeah.
But it soaked in, right? So we, in all of that work, like we were hunting and we were, butchering deer and building solar showers. And so we grew up, just with kind of like this hardcore backwoods life that, was on the weekend, but kind of nobody knew that about us.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, when I was a kid, my mom and dad, like, we did projects around the houses out in the yard. I lived in rural Washington when I was a kid, and we had some property. And I rolled my eyes at a lot of the lessons. I just, I wanted to go ride my little tiny motorcycle, not be doing construction projects, And now I look back and think, man, I really wish I would have listened a little more, because a lot of that skill set I would love to have now, and I just don't, because, I was being a kid and not a student,
Right.
Exactly. Same for us. And we actually had a different cabin that was on a nice lake. So we wanted to be at that cabin. And this cabin was in the middle of the woods and really rustic. And
yeah, we were always working, but
you're always working. Yeah.
Yeah. Not bored, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So then fast forward, when we had a really strict lockdown during COVID in the Philippines. And so I was contained to my one block of walking back and forth in front of my house. And so I always have to be learning something. So I was like learning Spanish, and then I was thinking about, how do we grow a real estate business? But I had a lot of time, right? And so I landed on a land podcast. I think it was actually a guest who was on Bigger Pockets. And then I dug into it. And I thought, oh, maybe Mary and I can do this. If she can take care of all of the synchronous tasks that have to be done in the US, and then I can do all the asynchronous tasks, from wherever I am, because we travel a lot. And so I, dropped the idea. Mary, you want to try this? And she's like, yep, sure, let's do it. So that was about 4 years. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's a really good time to get into the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that also helped us springboard a lot too, because, when you're new, we were taking kind of big risks, but they just kind of also kept working out, and that allowed us to grow our snowball quickly. And I think had we been starting this year, it would have been a different story. So without a doubt, it was like anything that we bought, we could pretty much sell immediately with just a little bit of a cleanup. Whereas now we have to be really thoughtful about the quality of the land and the value adds that we can bring. So luckily we're ready to do that now, but back then we were not. So
yeah, I think starting the business and also trying to dive into the additional tasks that come along with it with no knowledge would be difficult now, just with like where our kids are at. But during And just outside of COVID, it was like, oh, just take your time because nobody's in a hurry. So we were able to study a little bit, learn the business and do it real slow. And then now we're able to, obviously we know what we're doing a little bit better. So when we're busy,
Outsource some of the tasks and team
yeah,
up.
or I can do it when I'm driving. I'm not like nervous about making a phone call or whatever. I'm like, I'm just going to call them quick, so things like that. Definitely the timing of it was perfect.
And there's so much to do when you're starting a new business where you've got to get your website up and running. Before that, you have to have all of the LLC stuff taken care of. You got to get bank accounts set up. You've got to get relationships set up with the direct mail vendors or the text vendors like Launch Control. Like, there's so much that you have to set up as your basic infrastructure that it takes time in the beginning. You can't just send out the mail and wait for the calls to come in. You've got a lot to prep for.
Right.
And I think it's easy to forget that, once you are kind of established and you've got your machine running, it's easy to forget how much it does take to get started. And now that we have, done a bit of coaching, we realize, oh my goodness, there are just so many pieces, and it can feel really overwhelming at the start.
Yeah.
For sure. And you said that you were, and I know it was during the pandemic, but you were consuming a lot of podcasts, a lot of real estate podcasts. So did you have kind of at least a research goal in mind, or like what was your motivation for listening to those podcasts as opposed to like comedians podcasts or something?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm a very hyper person and I can't waste time. So if I'm on a run, I need to also be learning something. And then my reward is Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. But otherwise, if I'm whatever I'm doing, I'm always going to be listening to a podcast. If I'm unloading a drying rack in my art studio, or doing dishes, or on a run, I just want to be learning. So we have the house that I'm in now actually is in Madison, and we've owned it for about 18 years. And we stay in it for the 2 months of the summer so that our kids can kind of feel like Americans, because they were both born in China. But the other 10 months of the year, we rent it out on sabbatical homes. And so I was thinking that I think that also was kind of, swimming around when you're starting to expand how you want to do real estate. Do we want to buy just more doors, or do we want to try something new? And so I was definitely thinking, okay, we should just buy a few more houses. And then we love land way more than houses. So
you stumbled across land in the podcasts.
Yeah.
And then our dad also, used the land to pay for weddings and college, whatever it might be, cars. And so we were like, oh, well, that was a good investment he made.
Yeah, I mean, you put your feet to the ground as kids. Like you understood the kind of scope of it, which is, and knowing knowing your own dad kind of gave you some insight into who the end buyers might be, I assume, where you kind of personality types of who owns land and who might buy land. I feel like that gives you a real edge going in.
Yeah, for sure. For Mary, talking to buyers, I mean, she can just imagine my dad, and the way she speaks and her cadence and just her colloquialisms and everything are just infinitely different when she's on, a good old boy land call, for sure.
Yeah, I could see that.
And from my end, I also I think it does help me understand that the different uses of land. Like, not everybody is going to build a barn dominium. Some people want to hunt, and some people want to harvest timber. And there's definitely, land is so just versatile.
Yeah, different. And I think when you look at the maps too, you're really good at seeing the neighbors and what they, would they be interested? Sometimes we'll kind of look and see what they have around them and that part of it too. And I do think it comes from oh, this guy is for sure just like dad, or this person is nothing like dad, and no, they aren't interested, just by whatever kind of house they have or barns or whatever.
Or 17 junk cars.
Yeah, 17 junk cars. They might need more space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because when those personality types, like when in the distressed property side of things, I think that a lot of times people go in, assuming a certain level of financial hardship and more or less playing to that. Whereas in land, like I would think of, my own family and think, like there's a possibility that somebody might want to sell land that they're not looking to use because they want to build a back deck, and the back deck is pricey, and
Yeah.
and selling that land could pay for that back deck. It's not necessarily like, oh, I can't afford the back taxes, I don't know what to do. It's, you need to be able to connect with them on that level of like, look, what are you trying to do this summer? Are you trying to build a back deck? Think about
Yeah.
it, right? Like that kind of connection. You need to know the buyer profile. You need to know the seller profile in order to make those kind of connections.
Mhm.
And actually, Mary's really good at that too, with because I think, like you mentioned, a land seller also necessarily isn't in. They're not necessarily having hardship, but they also aren't necessarily in a hurry. And so she's
Yeah.
really good about, where to find us, and we don't do any kind of high pressure or anything, and then it just maybe even 6 months later or a year later, she'll give them a call, or she'll be in the middle of a volleyball game and they'll call her and say, "Yep, I'm ready." And you're like, "What? We thought you like fell off the planet and now you're calling us back." So I think she's really good about patient follow up.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, because that's actually very counter what most people teach. And I love that approach. I love the patient approach because I think that uh, land is an asset. It's an asset that they own, and the likelihood of them making a decision, unless they have to, like if it's that back deck profile, they don't need to make a decision this week. You just need to plant the seed, right? But I know that that's very counter what most people teach. Most people will teach, you got to triple dial. You got to triple dial every day for 2 weeks, and it's very focused, I'll say. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about kind of your philosophy and why you think patience is key in this situation.
Well, I think that definitely the patients and the patient follow up is a small piece of the pie, but it fits into our whole philosophy. So we don't outsource anything. Um, well, some ways we do. We lean on our brokers and we have some bird dogs and things, but otherwise, we are really just about the relationships, and we're in a small area. I mean, we do all of our work in Tennessee, and even that we're in a pretty hyper focused area. And so we can just take our time and dig in, and people know we're not going anywhere. So when they hear from us, they know if it's an email, it's from Ann, and if it's a phone call, it's Mary. Um, and they keep we send them a magnet, and they keep it on their fridge, and they call us whenever they call us. And so I think the fact that we aren't high pressure, and it's very, I would say mom and pop, but like sister and sister, I think it does feel a lot different on the other end for the person who's on the phone, and can probably get 7 or 10 phone calls a week. I think it is a little different when they hear from us.
Yeah.
So how does oh, sorry, I
I'm
keep
sorry.
cutting you off.
No,
Sorry.
no,
Go
no.
ahead.
I was just going to say, when I talk to buyers, I mean, a lot of times if they call, they're like, "Well, I'm calling you because we like your picture." But then also just the way that we speak to them, it's not so high pressure. And I think they appreciate that. They remember that. I mean, I've probably received 10 to 15 calls back, saying, "Okay, yeah, I did think about it. Thank you for giving me the time, or please call me back. I'm still not ready, but I am thinking about you." So I think just the way you approach people as people and respect their land as their land,
Mhm.
and finding why they maybe don't need it anymore really helps.
Yeah.
Not
No, I
always.
love that. I'm curious about how you approach your marketing within Tennessee, because I know that, like, again, like this being kind of counter to what's typically taught, right? If you look at the big data providers or market analysis tools like Priced and Land Insights and the Land Portal, I think most people look at those heat maps that services like that provide, and they get really excited, and they're like, wow, maybe I'll try a little bit of Texas, and then I'll try a little bit of California, and Nevada seems interesting, and they're looking for different heat maps and just mailing out nationwide, and in hopes of getting more deals by having a wider net. But you're not casting a wide net. You're being very, very focused. So walk us through your marketing a little bit, and kind of maybe address why you are still finding deals in markets and that or counties that you've already marketed to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like even what I said, we're not just Tennessee, we're even just pretty much donuts around Nashville, I would say at this point.
Wow.
And we're still able to do deals there because um, of the relationships that we have with our brokers and our bird dogs, and they're always on the lookout for us. And when something comes, they hear about something or whatever, they think, oh, this is one for the sisters, and then they call us and say, oh, you guys want to look at it? I was going to go meet with them, and I think that's also been a huge byproduct of us just staying in one area and us following through. I mean, if we say we're going to close, we close, and we don't wholesale, and we don't. I mean, we've double closed a couple, but it was like strange neighbor things. It's not really our model. We'll do it, like it's a tool we can use, but it's not really what we do. So I know it isn't efficient, but we do buy our deals outright, and we pay cash, and almost always it's all of our own. We do have a couple of partnership deals and a couple of investors, but for the most part, we try to roll our own capital as far as we can and build as much equity as we can. So doing that just in one spot means that people are bringing us bringing us options. And then I think also when people find a deal in Tennessee, they go, wait, there are these girls, they do Tennessee or whatever. And then I think that it kind of, they find our website or they go back to our podcast or whatever, and they'll reach out to and say, hey, will you look at this for me? And we're happy to do that. And a lot of times we just give people feedback, but also it does replace marketing in a lot of ways too, because we're getting incoming leads.
Okay. All right. So I have many follow-up questions to this. The first would be, within that kind of like relationship focused model, people are bringing you guys, both of you, business. What was, you have some businesses that are set out to be lifestyle businesses, right? And you have others that want to build quote unquote generational wealth, right? So like max profits, max number of deals is paramount. Mm-hmm. Where do you fit in the scale in terms of what your happy place is for your business?
Well, we want both.
Okay. Yeah.
We want a lifestyle business that provides generational wealth, but we also are teaching our next generation, our kids now, that it's not getting handed over to you. It's something that you work for. So yeah. I think that for both of us, the lifestyle piece is massive for two different reasons. I mean, I always travel a month at Christmas. We spend the summer on the boat in Wisconsin, and then I live in whatever country I'm in at the time, and so that land allows that. I mean, we've done deals I've been on a paddleboard, and what I'm thinking, this is magic. Like here I am, like in Boracay on a paddleboard and closing a deal. It just is amazing. And for Mary, I mean, I'll let her speak about it. She has a ton of freedom in her life too because of land.
Yeah, I mean, when we moved to Colorado, I was not lost, but it was COVID, and I had younger kids, and school wasn't starting again. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for work because I had a in-home daycare in Wisconsin for 10 years. And so when she said, do you want to do this? I was like, absolutely. And thank God, because now there's no buses for our schools. My children play travel hockey and travel volleyball, so we're gone a lot. And then also just back and forth to practices. So allowing me to have that freedom is priceless. Like,
yeah, freedom of time
is time, and I can literally sit at hockey practice and respond to emails or look at properties or vice versa with hockey, and I can travel to tournaments and still make my calls.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's something really interesting about having a job, even if it's a business you own, that isn't very strictly time bound, right? Like you might have to take a call at a certain time, but like research, I mean, you could be sitting on the couch at night half watching TV and do research, so there's that untime bound thing. And for you, I mean, for people living abroad who feel like oftentimes their life abroad is very much pinned to a job or a job that's attached to a visa, and that they maybe lack some freedom to be able to maintain that lifestyle because it's so hinged to a specific employment type. To be able to have your own business that finances and allows you to be able to be in Boracay or be in Shanghai or be in, wherever it is that you and your family want to be, that's got to be an incredible sigh of relief.
Yeah, it is actually. And I also have the other part, the bound by a work visa and kids tuition and all of that. So I do, because of the age of our kids, they're grade 11, actually one just graduated. So this will be the last year that they're in school. And that's the end of the handcuffs, right? I mean, that whole, their stability was tied to this country, and their tuition and our housing and our travel and our visas were all connected to that. But the other piece is that because we are in the Philippines, we have a lot of help. So after school, if it ends at 3:30, I have from 3:30 until 6:15 to get in a workout and do a couple hours of land because someone else is making dinner.
Yeah.
And so I think that piece of it, and for people who are living in, maybe a lower cost of living country, that's another way to buy back time. I mean, we don't have VAs, but I have someone cleaning my house, or I have a driver, and, like that kind of thing. So it's just what do you choose to outsource? For us, it's more like the personal living tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, so I want to go back to that sort of like donut or a couple of donuts around Nashville, you said, right?
Yeah.
So are you focused on a specific niche of land? Do you have like a land profile that you're going after that's able to kind of regenerate opportunities within that space?
I would say yes, for sure. I mean, we love subdivides, and that's been our main target, I would say, for the last 3 years, because it does they take longer. It's like a qualitative project, right? And we're doing value adds and those kind of things. So it doesn't take very many projects in a year. So that also just slows down. We don't feel like thirsty, like gotta get a deal, because we get things that we can kind of dig our teeth into and spend some time on, because then the payoff is worth it. And so, yeah, for sure, we like subdivides. We are just July 10th. Wrapping up a major subdivide that has been a headache, I would say. But even that said, it's been 7 months. That's not that long. But we're not going to probably choose that again. Not for a while. We have to recover from this one.
But with subdivide, you're able to offer a higher price point, right? Going in. So Mary, that must make the conversation slightly easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of a subdivide. It's like once you buy it and get everything rolling, then you're kind of it's a waiting game, which gives us a little bit of anxiety. But like she said, we might do, I think last year our goal was to do 4. Maybe this year we won't do that many, but we'll probably do 4 or whatever. That's the goal. Yeah. But in 4 bigger subdivides, it's like doing several little deals, and I'm not on the phone, 50 times for just a small amount of money.
Yeah, and in terms of like what we can offer on the property, we are able to offer more. We're not trying to buy it 50% of market value, just because the case and bottle philosophy of just how the price per acre grows so quickly with a smaller acreage. Once we see how we can divide it, then we can walk the numbers backwards to know what we can offer. And we like being able to offer a really, strong price, because everybody should win. The landowner should win. We should win. Our contractors and our brokers, like there's room for everybody. It's just a matter of finding that right deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said you don't have any VAs. Is it just the 2 of you running business?
Yeah, it's well, yes, and our local contractors and our local agents, and
sure.
That we have some people that will do kind of gig work. I have a website guy and he is awesome. So he just kind of keeps everything up to date when we actually it's not up to date currently, but it will be after the 4th. But I just email him when we need a few hours and he does it. But otherwise, no, it's just us.
So in the course of deal flow from, lead generation, marketing, all the way through disposition, final exit strategies for a deal, how do you divide up what you work on?
Go ahead, Amy.
I was gonna say, you go ahead. I would say I would do all the asynchronous tasks, the research, the data, the mapping. I do all of the mapping, especially for the subdivides and things. That's pretty much all I do. And then Mayor?
I usually just kind of take care of calling the county cleanup guy, surveyor, soil scientist, any electrical, water, trying to figure out regulations for the county on how to split it, that kind of stuff. Talk with the owner if it is like a letter, but talk to the realtors, just kind of ongoing communication. And then
I'm you, Mary, like that I'm comfortable with, and the market analysis and the data, that's where my attention just starts drifting and I'm like, focus.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's nice when you know what you're good at. Yeah.
Well, it's nice having a business partner, and definitely a business partner with different skill sets, right? Because if you're starting a company from scratch and you're by yourself, one of the most important things you have to do out of the gate is identify what you're not good at, or what you really isn't a task that you should be doing, right? So, there are certain things that you can outsource, or certain things where you may need to hire help because you're just, you're not good at it. If, let's say, accounting, if you're terrible with numbers, you might want to have somebody come in part-time to work the books so you don't get yourself in trouble. Like that kind of thing is important. And the fact that you have very different but very important skill sets is great for the present and future of your business.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually with us starting to do coaching now, we also will have the same coaching client, and we use a running slideshow with them, but depending on the topic determines who they're going to meet with. And so then, like, a lot of times when we're in a meeting, they'll say, "Oh, I'm going to save this question for Mary because it's not your lane." I was like, "Good idea."
Yeah.
And then we just kind of put in the notes, and then we usually talk after to say, "Okay, here's where we left off. They're asking this," and I think like one of our brokers calls us the two-headed monster because he doesn't know who he's talking to, but it's just it definitely is. We have very separate domains.
Yes.
So I want to get to the coaching consulting side of things, and kind of what roles you play in that. But I did have a couple more questions about that Tennessee market, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I know you said you wanted last year, I think you did 4 subdivides, and those are bigger ticket projects. So, it doesn't necessarily require a heavy marketing output if you've got those, especially if you've got deals coming to you through the brokers. So what, if any, kind of consistent marketing are you doing for your business to generate leads?
I would not say that we are very consistent. I mean, I know that everything that's taught says, like, you don't have a business if you aren't marketing. If you aren't marketing, you aren't, you're just a deal shop or whatever. I don't care. Maybe that's what we are. But I think the marketing that we do is a lot of personalized marketing. Mary's responding to people that we've been talking to for a while. And so those are handwritten. And the marketing that we're doing is reviewing, like we just got one this week where a guy said, there's never anything for sale here. This woman wants to sell. I can't afford it. I have 5 kids. Do you guys want to look at it? And so then it just is Mary reaching out to her to, confirm, do you want to sell? Are we in the ballpark for price? What's your timeline? So it is pretty organic, I would say. And then sometimes we do find ourselves kind of not slacking, but letting the acquisition side go when we're really wrapped up with a project, and then we just will kind of beef it up a little bit and and do some outreach. We did this year we did have an American cold caller that we just tried for a month or something. And it was okay, but it still didn't, we didn't continue. So I think that tells you, like, we've tried things, and we've tried bringing on a VA to review our deals and things, but every single time we just think, you know what, it's not that much work with the way we do things, and it's kind of an easy pace, and we'd rather just be really true to our brand and ourself. And it's like exactly how not to do business. I think, we can't ever scale, but the way that we're scaling is in the size of the deals that we're doing.
Sure.
And our local team. So
I mean, you're one of, Ann based in the Philippines, Mary, you spend most of the year in Colorado. How did you choose the Nashville area as your kind of base of operations?
The U-Haul site.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, like people moving, like just following this moving
started
trend?
with the U-Haul site, I think, or just kind of looking at the trends. It was one of the areas that people were moving to during COVID because everything was getting so expensive. The taxes were low there. And then, I mean, we had a couple we did Kentucky for a short while. And then we just kind of ended up in Tennessee because the deals that we had, they were like, oh, it works. Oh, it works. And so we just kind of stuck around and realized jumping around maybe isn't like for us. It was just too much chase because it is just the two of us. We don't have, people responding to our mailers and stuff.
So again, you both kind of counter what a lot of people teach, and you're certainly not alone in this. I know a handful of investors that just have really great relationships in their markets. They have deals coming to them because of the relationships they've made with brokers, other investors, just people that are in parallel tracks within their markets. But it's definitely the exception. Most people are more like marketing focused, triple dialing, really kind of churn and burn with their businesses. So for somebody that's just getting involved in land investing and thinking, that's me, I don't want to do all the heavy marketing. I just want to have great relationships and do enough big projects during the year to kind of make my goal. Realistically, how long did it take you to build up relationships in that market to have it be kind of self-sustaining without doing a lot of outbound?
I'd say the last 2 years.
I would too.
Because you kind of said we got to get out there, like on Facebook and when invited on, and when we're invited on podcasts and stuff, because I'm shy or whatever. Not really, but kind of. And I was like, no. And she's like, yeah, because this is how we're going to connect with people. And so that's kind of where it started. About 2 years ago, Ann's like, we got to just join the groups and start chatting and networking with people. And like she said, she's overseas, so that's the best way for her to do that. And I try, but
yeah,
I'd love you describe yourself as shy when it's Ann that's like, don't get me in front of people. I just want data. I want numbers. I want asynchronous tasks. And Mary, you're making a genuine connection with like Lumberjack Jim somewhere.
I am not shy in person, face to face, or on the phone, but on the camera, I'm shy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree that because we can attend the conferences. It's just not. I mean, Mary actually can now. We should probably get you doing that a little bit. But yeah, I can attend conferences. We weren't doing anything online. We weren't ever in any groups. We were just like little hermits, And so then we started doing some REI or RE Tipster group comments and questions, and then we got heavily involved with Pete Reese's school community. And so then I think that because you always get what you're going to get. We don't know how to do anything else. We're just ourselves. I think that also people know if they bring us a deal, we're not going to steal your deal, and we're not going to we're not charging you. We'll just look at it. Like we're just, nice moms and ladies hanging out. So I think there's something to that as well. Like nobody feels like, oh, these ladies are like thirsty, hardcore businesswomen, because we don't know how to do that anyway.
Yeah, I think in REI, there's a lot of like the few giving the many a bad name, where, most people that I know, hundreds of investors in distressed property and land, and the vast majority are really great people that are running small businesses and they're successful entrepreneurs and they're trustworthy. And then, there are, a few scammers and schemers out there, and those few, and it can maybe give, a negative hinge to the whole industry. And that's really quite unfair, because I think that, you get the right network in place and it can be trusted and it can be good.
And I think probably for sellers too. I mean, we've had quite a few sellers that are just like, I just need to know that you're going to close, So then when we can show proof of funds and good EMD and a solid title company who can vouch for us, and people who say, oh, I've done deals with them, I think that also adds a lot to the relationship, because people are getting scammed and people are, promising to wholesale their deal, and then they just kind of ghost the seller, and that's just bad business.
Yeah.
Bad human living. Bad. It's just, yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more, and it really speaks to your patient, seller first approach to this whole business, because like we said in the beginning, this is their land, is their asset, right? And we want to purchase it as a business asset that we're going to use, but it's still something. It's still it's somebody's dad that you're buying land from, right? And you have to really respect that. There's so much, I think, sometimes gets caught up in the phrase like deal finding, right? And you got to get a good deal. You got to get a great deal. I got an amazing deal, but there was somebody on the other side of that, right? So did they get a great solution? Did they feel confident walking away with the amount of money that you offered them? Did they feel like they were well taken care of and it was just a good real estate solution? Because if they did, that has really solid knock-on benefits for all of us.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Actually, we just bought an on-market deal. That was exactly that. It was a large farm, and the family had sold it, or they were under contract to sell it, and they'd already then under contract for the new farm that they were moving to, and the buyer fell out of contract because I can't remember why. Doesn't matter. But the broker called us and said, girls, can you close in 30 days with cash on this one? Because, the seller needs out. And so we got a good deal. They got enough money. They were able to move on. And I mean, it was an on-market deal, and everybody still can win. So.
Yeah, I love that. So I know you're doing subdivides. Are you doing any kind of additional diversification? Are you getting into building on any of those subdivides, or doing some owner financing with anything? Like, what's the kind of arc of the business model?
We're doing only horizontal development at the moment. I think we probably will get a little bit deeper once one of us at least is in the state. I think ultimately one of us or both of us want to be there for part of the year. But for now, we're staying just with horizontal. We are doing roads and, culverts and clearing and taps and all of that kind of horizontal development, but nothing vertical. Owner financing, we don't seek it, but we don't mind it. We probably have five notes or something. And so then they can, they keep the lights on every month. That's, we don't have to worry about those. And it does seem like a responsible long-term play, but we prefer cash deals if we can.
Yeah. Great. So in terms of the consulting side of things, I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that you're taking kind of a slow, patient approach to working with investors.
Yeah, we are, and we don't pitch it and we don't advertise it. I think it's just, like if somebody finds us, and they're a good fit. That's the other thing is, like Mary will always meet with them first, usually because they don't like my schedule because it's so restrictive because of my time zone. And then she just, is really clear about what we can and can't do, or what we believe and what we stick to. And because we are outliers, I would say, we can tell really quickly, is this going to be a fit or not for a private client? We don't do any group coaching. I'm a teacher and I don't want any more classes ever. But I love one-on-one interactions. So, yeah, we
no
are.
lesson planning for real estate investors.
Actually, it is exactly like a lesson plan.
Yeah, we do give homework.
And we give homework. Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's funny.
Yeah. So are you taking on, are you working largely with local Nashville RIAs, or is it all Tennessee based, or can it be national level clients who just kind of really like that more personalized, slow build approach?
Yeah, we should do something with local RIAs and we should visit them, but we haven't. It is in my mind, but it just isn't in our lifestyle right now. And so, yeah, most of the people that we work with are going to go to work in the Tennessee market. Not all. Some are actually Texas, and one is North Carolina. But it is that they're just drawn to our philosophy, but they don't necessarily live in Tennessee.
Yep.
So what would be like a couple of just differentiators, like something that, Mary, you might tell people that other coaches wouldn't, right? Something that is kind of stand apart in terms of your lessons. Not lessons. They're not lessons. They're
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess if they were to take a coaching call with me, for return calls, I definitely probably pitch more of the personal slow roll kind of phone call and how to approach and make a relationship with a buyer. Because like you said, most people are like, hey, I want to buy your land. Well, that's not really kind of what I pitch. So I usually just kind of go through some, I don't know, how to make a call.
Yeah. I think she's also really good at breaking down the things that are unique to Tennessee, and so if you're in this county, don't take another move or don't make another move until you take a look at the soil. And she actually made that flow chart you made was so good that you were like, do this. If it's not this, then just call me.
If yes, if no, yep, that's true. If they say this, then this is kind of like the next approach. And also, in Tennessee, it is dealing with the type of person. You can kind of tell when they pick up the phone how they want to be talked to. And then, like you said, the deal flow kind of okay, they're not interested. Don't let them go. It's kind of in a lot of the other podcasts. It's definitely a slow roll. Don't attack them.
So with that in mind, a huge profile or a huge group of people that would potentially reach out are people who would like to get into real estate, but don't necessarily have the capital to do so, right? Or very limited capital. Like this is either going to work or it's going to sink, right? So do you give people some advice? Because it is a bit of a slower build, the way that you guys run your business. So do you give people some advice about what they need to have in terms of capital before they get started, or what they need to have in terms of prior experience before they get started?
I think we're really quick to find out what their situation is, because it also then we'll use that to determine which markets they should be in, because there are definitely markets in Tennessee that are affordable. So if they do want to do self funds, then we know where they can, just do some basic flips and get started, and it's simple and it's not too expensive. Actually, a lot of the calls we get are people that say, well, sounds like you're doing great. Can I just give you money? Which we don't mind those calls, but I mean, we do. When you say, Mary?
Yeah, heck, sure you can.
Sure, you can, but you have to know, like, you're a silent partner, like you're not coming in, and driving the deal. So, if you want to invest and you like, the deal that we have on the table that we can't afford, you have to be okay with whatever our strategy is and our timeline. And then we're happy to do that. And actually, we have some really great investors too that are wanting to learn, but more just like watching it like a TV show, and then they'll say, "Oh, can you just give me an update when there is one?" And then we text or we'll email them and say, "Hey, there's something going on," and then we just pop on and kind of give them an update on the project. But it's not in like a pressure way. It's more just like let me just see how this goes. I want to be a fly on the wall and give you my money. So we're okay with that.
Yeah. Is that what's next? HGTV, bicontinental real estate investing?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of banter, and we've said, like, what are we? Are we like the sewer sisters? Are we the shit sisters? Are we the like, are we the
What's
dirty?
our niche?
Like, none of it works. So that's a no. Yeah.
Oh no, could be an idea. Think about it.
Yeah, I look at Mary like, this is already a stretch for both of us, actually. Yeah.
So in terms of how people can get in touch with you, there's a few ways, right? To be potentially to work with you in the Tennessee market, to invest with you, or just as other investors to connect with you. You want to give people a couple of ways to get in touch with you, and then we'll put everything in the show notes below.
Sure. Actually, I'm glad you asked that question because it is confusing. When we got started, we were on Facebook and we just did Mary Ann Danielson, as like Mary Ann is one name. So people don't understand what's happening, that they think it's a lady named Mary Ann, but it's the two of us, and we're both just checking and then responding, on the day or the night of when we're seeing it. But I think that a lot of people do use Facebook to get in touch with us, and we're Mary Ann Danielson there. And then our website is danielsonlandco.com.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we'll put both of those, everybody listening, we'll put both of those in the show notes below, wherever you're listening to this, and you can get in touch there. Anything else that you both wanted to let people know about, or anything else that we missed in the discussion you want to highlight?
No, I think the only thing that we would want people to know is, don't get intimidated or think that all of the buzz and the whistles and bells that you hear on the podcast is necessary for you. I mean, maybe that's a fit, but I think the cool thing about real estate, whether it's houses or land or any combination, is that you can design the day you want to have and the business you want to have, and you don't have to compare it to anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I'm glad that you brought that up at the end. I was actually just having this conversation with an investor friend yesterday. And then, let's take your model, for instance. If somebody tries to replicate your model exactly for themselves, it's not going to be as successful. They can take your model, but they're going to have to find their own version thereof through the process, right? Because ultimately you have to run your own business that has its own kind of quirks and its own processes. And if you try to follow to the letter any coach, any guru, any other investor that too exact of a way, it's just going to get frustrating, and it's not going to be as successful as you want it to be.
Yeah, I think authenticity is definitely key. Like, you should be in a place where you love the look of the land and you love the sound of the people, and the deal size matches what you can handle, and you have to find your fit. And for some people that might be the desert or the mountains, or only lakefront properties or whatever. But the truer you can be to yourself, I think the happier you're going to be. And also, people can see right through that. You can see if somebody's truly passionate and if they are who they say they are, for sure.
Yeah.
You definitely want to wake up and do it when it's your own.
Right.
Yeah,
You're not
exactly.
follow the
That's a
rule.
perfect
It's
way
like,
to
oh,
end
I
it. Like
gotta
you
do
should
this.
wake up wanting to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You want to do it. And that helps.
We sneak away from our family sometimes to like to text or check on deals or, wait, like, yeah, we're mowing the lawn, but just wait a second. I got to get over here and talk to Mary, so,
We're recording this, right?
Yeah.
yeah, they don't listen. They're not the least bit interested.
Okay. Well, thank you both for coming on so much. I really appreciate it. You've got a very authentic way of running your business, and you've got the way that, as we mentioned a couple times in this show, it's counter to what a lot of people teach, but is clearly very successful and is clearly an option for people that really don't want to be in a marketing grind with their business. So I think it's an inspiring thing, and I hope a lot of people listen in and kind of get that takeaway from this episode. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And how can we help you, Michael?
Yeah.
Well, Deal Nation, the more listeners we get, the better. And then, of course, the show is sponsored by Launch Control. So if you know anybody that is looking to do some marketing, we have done for you services at Launch Control, so they don't even have to do the texting themselves. So if you want to send some people over our way, I'll get you both an affiliate link after the episode, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. And then anybody that wants to get connected with Launch Control kind of through you can just use the link in the show notes below.
Great.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you all so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day.